Okay, so have you ever come across those stories? You know, the ones that just kind of pull you in? They're these amazing tales of building something huge, something that touches everyday lives, but then they take this dark, unexpected turn.
Oh, yeah, those are the ones that stick with you.
Totally. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. You sent over some, well, honestly, some pretty fascinating stuff about P. Rajagopal,
Uh-huh.
the guy behind all those Saravana Bhavan restaurants. I mean, talk about an empire,
The
right?
global empire built on dosas.
Exactly, dosas. And that's how he got that name, the Dosa King.
Makes sense.
But the thing is, this isn't just your typical rags to riches story. There's this whole other layer of obsession and a really, really shocking crime that just blew the whole thing wide open.
Yeah, it's one of those classic rise and fall narratives, but with so many twists and turns. You look at his early life, born in 1947 in a village in Tamil Nadu. I mean, not exactly a life of privilege.
Not at all.
And then to see him climb all the way to becoming a billionaire, a philanthropist even, it's
Yeah.
pretty remarkable.
It really is. And in your material, even those early days with the Murugan store in Chennai, you already see those entrepreneurial instincts,
Right,
and
right.
that laser focus on quality. Quality, high quality, that was his thing, right?
Yeah, it was ingrained in him from the start.
It's amazing how these little details, can kind of foreshadow the bigger picture. Like you wouldn't think a random customer comment, almost just a suggestion, could change the course of someone's life.
You never know what'll spark that big idea.
Seriously. But then you add in this astrologer's prediction about fire.
Okay, that's interesting.
Right. It makes you wonder, what if he'd never heard those things? Would there even be a Saravana Bhavan? But that first restaurant in 1981, that was the game changer.
Absolutely, a pivotal moment.
What really struck me looking through what you sent was his commitment to not just serving food, but serving really good quality food at a price that normal people could afford.
That was key, wasn't it? Making it accessible to those middle-class families.
Totally. It wasn't just about grabbing a bite. It was about having a good experience and knowing you could rely on that every time.
Yeah, he understood what people wanted and delivered on it consistently.
For sure. But then, and this is where it gets interesting, there's all this stuff about how he treated his employees.
Oh, yeah. This is where that Anakachi image comes into play.
Right, Anna T, the elder brother, that kind of respectful figure.
It wasn't just a name, it seemed like there was genuine care there. Better wages, free haircuts, even helping with their kids' education.
Really? Free haircut?
Yeah, it's in the material you sent. Seems like he went above and beyond for them.
Wow. No wonder people were so loyal to him.
Absolutely. It created this whole culture of respect and loyalty within the company.
And you have to understand, that image, that almost saintly figure in his traditional white clothes, it makes what comes later so much harder to process.
Yeah, the contrast is pretty stark.
Because the material you shared starts to reveal this darker side,
Yeah.
maybe that generosity, that desire to provide, it was also tied to this need to control things.
Interesting.
And this is where Jiva Jyoti's story becomes intertwined with his. Her family struggling, her father gets a job at Saravana Bhavan. It seems like a lifeline.
Right, a chance to turn things around.
But Rajagopal takes a special interest in Jiva Jyoti and what starts as these gestures of goodwill.
Like financial help, small gifts, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It gradually shifts into something else entirely. It becomes this possessive fixation, almost an obsession.
Mm.
And it's so different from the public image he's built.
Yeah, that duality is fascinating, isn't it? How someone can present this one face to the world, but behind closed doors.
It's a completely different story.
And it really highlights how those power dynamics can subtly corrupt even good intentions. You start to see the warning signs of an obsession taking hold.
And then enter Prince Vantakumar.
Ah, yes. The young math tutor.
Yeah. He comes into Jiva Jyoti's life, brings this sense of stability, trust. Just a normal, decent guy. But Rajagopal saw him as a threat, a rival for Jiva Jyoti's affection.
It seems like Rajagopal couldn't handle rejection, couldn't accept that Jiva Jyoti might choose someone else.
It's like he felt entitled to dictate her life. And when she defied him, when she and Prince eloped, that's when things took a really dark turn.
The harassment escalated, didn't it? Financial pressure, threats, even a kidnapping attempt is all detailed in the sources you provided.
It's terrifying.
It's like he was trying to punish her for daring to make her own choices. And thinking back to his treatment of employees, it makes you wonder, was that generosity always conditional? Was it only there as long as people stayed within the lines he drew?
That's a chilling thought. And it all culminates in October 2001 with the murder of Prince Shantakumar.
A brutal end to a young life.
It happened in Kodaikanal, and that's when the facade of the Dosa King started to crumble. The material you shared about those forest guards, Murugesan and Raman, just going about their day and then stumbling upon Prince's body.
It's a stark reminder of the real-world consequences
Yeah.
of Rajagopal's obsession.
It went from manipulation to a calculated act of violence.
And the investigation, initially just trying to identify a body, eventually leads them to Rajagopal.
Can you imagine? These local forest guards suddenly caught up in this case involving one of the most powerful figures in the country.
And it seems like even then his influence was being felt. The initial charge was culpable, homicide, not murder.
Right, a much lesser charge. And then there were years of legal battles, appeals, medical excuses. It really highlights how wealth and power can be used to delay, even obstruct, the justice system.
Absolutely. And the fact that Rajagopal died in 2019 while still technically out on bail,
Still technically a free man,
it left this feeling that justice hadn't truly been served.
especially for Jiva Jyothi. She'd been through so much, and to not see him held fully accountable.
It must have been incredibly difficult for her.
The material ends with her trying to rebuild her life, finding solace in tailoring, something she's passionate about. But the shadow of Saravana Bhavan, this global success story, built on such a dark foundation, it's always there.
A constant reminder of what happened.
It's a story that makes you think,
Yeah,
about the dangers of unchecked ambition, the destructive power of obsession, and how easily appearances can deceive.
it certainly does.
This whole deep dive, it leaves you with a lot to ponder. What's the real price of success? What happens when desire becomes all-consuming? These are questions that stay with you long after you've heard the story.
They do. It's a cautionary tale, to say the least.
Absolutely.